Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And it has been said in the past that supposedly the Raw after WrestleMania is sometimes better than WrestleMania. I've never seen one, to be quite honest. I've never seen the Raw that was superior to WrestleMania before. And I've been talking about this for quite some time on this channel, how Raw After Mania is very overrated. You know, people like to build it up because there's a hot crowd, there's a bunch of UKers in the crowd, and they're gonna make things seem more exciting. Never mind the fact that they're mostly annoying. They had to edit chants out tonight because people were chanting for AEW, which is... You know, I'm not for editing and censoring people, but I mean, like, you're coming to a WWE show to chant AEW. I mean, do you know how ridiculous that is? Like, seriously, that's like people, you know, back in the day that they would bring, like, TNA signs to WWE. Don't censor the people, but, you know, I feel like you should laugh at them. Like, oh, I'm a real rebel with my TNA sign. You know, I don't know, you know... Like, back in the day, if you wore an ECW shirt to a WWE show, it was fine because most of the time it was like kind of like most people just were fans of like all three, and they would watch like all of them, you know, kind of like I would at the time. But whatever, you know, fans now are not like ECW fans. It's a completely different crop. And this show right here, I'm not even mad. I was just bored throughout. I mean, after a horrible WrestleMania, without hyperbole at all, it was the worst WrestleMania I've ever seen. I've never been so bored. And for the first time in years, my father actually sat down and watched the show with me for like about an hour. He fell fast asleep. He was dead out. Because he was just like, he was out like a light. Because the show was that fucking terrible that it actually put him to sleep. I mean, really, like, that's the effect that the show has on people. So let's get into this show. So Seth Rollins comes out. Kofi Kingston comes out for whatever reason. You know, they're... Like, I don't understand this. So, like, Kofi wants to celebrate, so he's gonna interrupt Rollins to do it. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like interrupting somebody is kind of, like, heelish in a way. But whatever. They get to talking. You know, this is just a goofball, love fest type of thing. There's nothing here. There's no story. Hey, it's the two champions. How do we get them out there together? Well, let's just put them out there with no explanation. Okay, we want to have a winner-take-all match here tonight. So there's something. At least we're finally going to get rid of the two belts. There's no point in having two belts because they're going to have, you know, these guys going from show to show anyway, so it doesn't even make a lot of sense to begin with. Oh, but what's that? Next week is going to be the Superstar Shakeup. So obviously they're not going to combine the belts. So, you know, already, you know, like, what was the point of even doing that? You know, are we really going to have, you know, a unification match? And I noticed they've been staying away from unification. Why, like, all of a sudden, like, now, so I don't get it. So, was that match at WrestleMania not a unification match? Was that just so the winner just wins both belts for some reason? So does that mean if Becky's just going to lose one belt and it's going to go back to the show it was on? So what was the point of doing winner take all and having the belt in there and sacrificing Asuka to Charlotte and all that? Is there any explanation? I don't even give a shit. Honestly. Like, this is... The brand extension, the brand split is so moronic. Like, when you have a roster that is not strong enough to stand on its own two legs to begin with, why would you split it up? And You know, back in the day, it was like the excuse was they had so many wrestlers, splitting them up was a better idea because that way they could build new stars and everything. And, you know, I kind of got that argument. But you know what the thing was? It was like a lot of the wrestlers during the brand split, like they split up a lot of tag teams. And it was interesting seeing some of these guys on their own for a while. But most of them, like, ended up back together in a month, like, a couple of months anyway. And, like, they didn't even really ever grow any new stars in the very beginning of the brand split. Like, it kind of made no sense. Because, you know, Benoit and Kurt Angle, they were already, like, near the world title picture even before the brand split. So it's like, that was a bullshit thing that they said back then. And that's when they had an even bigger roster. You know, they didn't grow any stars during that time. No new stars really grew. They pretty much continued to push who they were already pushing. Then, so, like, I don't even get what they're doing here. So, like, they faked the unification. They faked an end to the brand split. And, oh, the Superstar Shakeup is next week. So, you know, there goes that idea of the brand split ending. Then Hawkins and Ryder defeated the Revival again. And I need to ask this question here. So, this guy, what's his name? Dash Wilder, I believe. The guy who punched the Bret Hart attacker. Like, here's the thing, guys, about that. I was looking into this story, and I found something out. After the guy was handcuffed, and already, like, you know, restrained, and had security around him, and after everyone in the ring already pounded on the guy, which he deserved, by the way, Dash Wilder took a fucking cheap shot at this guy while he was in handcuffs. And he was heralded as a hero. This guy right here, I don't know how he's not facing any repercussions. I think that probably had something to do with him losing the title at WrestleMania. On the pre-show anyway. But I'm really surprised to see him here, unless they just wanted to get him out there one last time. But I thought they don't do rematch clauses. So, okay, like, guys, do you understand something? I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, that asshole deserved it. No, you don't understand. The guy already got the shit beat out of him, which I support, by the way, because he deserved what was coming to him for what he did. Such a moronic thing, doing it to Bret Hart, a stroke victim. You know, a guy who's kind of fragile. You know, he couldn't even take a bump at WrestleMania a few years ago. So, this guy, like, he's already restrained. He already got what was coming to him. There's no need to punch the guy when he's already restrained and he's already going to be carted off to jail and probably face whatever legal action is going to be taken against him. Which I would imagine is going to happen. But this guy is fucking rearing back and punching the guy fucking square in the face when he's in handcuffs. And once again, it was like, yeah, this guy's a hero. Do you guys have like a brain? Do you understand how the world works? You understand you can't just go around punching people? Especially after they've been handcuffed? Like, I get it. If Dash Wilder was one of the guys who got a shot in on this moron when he jumped into the ring and attacked Bret, I get it. But after several minutes have passed already, this idiot gets the idea, I'm going to rear back and punch him. Quite frankly, they should have arrested this asshole as well. Whatever, Hawkins and Ryder win, so I'm finally happy to see them at least winning. But this shit with Dash Wilder has got me pissed off, to say the least. Like, the guy's a fucking goofball. Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin are out there, and Angle wishes him good luck. So I was kind of surprised by this. I thought that was his goodbye. But see, now I'm not so sure. Because Kurt Angle says, I want to wish you good luck. And then he takes it back. And then the Angle slams him. So, okay, so, he's got his comeuppance. And the thing is, I get it. Like, I did my rant on my WrestleMania review yesterday. And I still stand by that. Kurt Angle probably okayed it. He probably decided, hey, I'm going to put Corbin over. The guy deserves it. And by all means, I support Kurt's decision right there. Corbin is a younger guy. He probably enjoyed working with him. I think that Corbin's a talented guy. I think that, he does deserve his spot. I think he could be something, but like everyone, they're just misusing him. They don't know what to do with Corbin. I mean, for God's sakes, they're still dressing him in a fucking vest. And he hasn't been GM for about 5-6 months already. So, and then he puts him in the ankle lock. Okay, so it's like, I don't get it. It's like they felt sorry for what they did, so they brought him out one last time. But then Lars Sullivan comes out. And I get it. Like, this guy, was having some mental issues. He needed some time off. But, like, man, I don't want to blame WWE for something they can't control, like a man's mental health. But nothing ever goes their fucking way. Like, Lars is ready. They had a plan. John Cena versus Lars Sullivan. Like, what would you have rather seen? Would you have rather seen John Cena for the second time in a row burying Elias at WrestleMania? Or would you have rather seen this monster Lars Sullivan versus John Cena and possibly, John putting this guy over? Now, okay, guys, we all know, like, first of all, we're all saying, oh, yay, Lars, oh, yay, all this shit. Guys, you all know that they're gonna fucking ruin him. So I don't even see what the point is of getting excited about this guy. Lars is awesome looking. I mean, this guy looks like a fucking monster. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Gene Snitsky, who I also liked the look of back in the day. Another guy that, like, and that was even during the Ruthless Aggression era. They introduced him pretty well, kind of in a comedic fashion. But they did make the guy go on a winning streak for a while. And they did have Snitsky take Kane out. So that, they handled his introduction very well. But, they couldn't, maintain Snitsky's path. And it wasn't long before they had the guy obsessed with feet. It's going to be the same thing with Lars Sullivan. But now we're in an age where at least that was entertaining. This, we're going to just basically see the guy built up for maybe a few weeks. He's going to obviously lose to someone. And then they're going to, because they don't believe in momentum anymore. Because according to them, wins and losses doesn't matter. And that's a shame. Like, you look at a guy like Lars Sullivan. Are you honestly going to ruin this guy? Would you really put him in a compromised position where he would be made to look bad? I mean, why do you even have to worry about something like that? You should just know, when you see a guy like this, that he's going to come in there and he's going to be dominant. But they don't make characters like that anymore. You would think, by the way I'm explaining, it would be just that easy. But they don't want to make anyone like that. No one could be credible anymore. No one could look better than anyone else. I guess, that's equality for you, I guess. Alexa Bliss finally returned to the ring, and she defeated Bayley, in a few minutes. So, I don't know, guys. What was the deal here? Did she have a concussion? Were they just keeping her out of the ring, just to give her a little bit more time to rest? I mean, if that is the truth, that was pretty generous of them. Or was it, for a different reason? Because I don't know, they seemed like they were keeping her out of the ring. She was hosting that terrible fucking Moment of Bliss show, which I hope to God we never see that again. You know, so she's back, and I'm happy. You know, she's a great talent. She's a great personality. So, you know, at least she doesn't have to be restrained to doing those things anymore. You know, outside the ring only. I'm just kind of curious. You know, is she back for good, or is she going to be wrestling a little bit, and then they're gonna, you know, scooch her out of the ring again for another couple of months? It was very bizarre. Like, I don't know. I had a feeling that they were gonna like announce her retirement, you know, somewhere like close by, but apparently not. I'm happy to hear that. Becky Lynch came out for a promo. You know, Stone Cold cringy Lynch coming out there, and you know, it's a generic promo. This is like, remember after the main event, like, you couldn't wait to hear the promo. You knew you were going to get something good on the mic. You knew you were going to get, you know, a hot performance from that that last evening's main eventer. And now you just get a bland, boring performance. And Lacey Evans comes out. Finally, she looks like she's ready to be in a wrestling role. So, you know, I don't get it. Ever since the Royal Rumble, all they've been doing with her is just having her strut down to the ring. This time she comes face to face with Becky. She punches her, and they start fighting, and it looks like Becky got the best of her. Now, I understand that Becky just won and everything, but, you know, this is going to be the first time where we're going to have Lacey get serious. I know they had her come face to face with, who was it, Trish Stratus or something like that? Who did she come face to face with? Was it somebody? I forget who it was. You know, someone she came face to face with when she was in the Royal Rumble. Regardless of who it was, this was the first time that, like, she was officially going to be like an active wrestler. Like, they were ready to finally engage her in a feud here. And they had her run away like a chicken shit heel. Like, it's just, does every heel have to have this character? Does every single one of them have to play this role? Where are the badass heels? Like, okay, I guess Becky gets to play one. The only problem is that she's not a good badass. And is she a heel or is she not? Because, you know, it's kind of really hard to be a heel when the crowd is cheering for you, and I mean, I don't know. But anyway, there you go. That was Lacey's, like, I can't say debut, but like the first time that she kind of made a statement that she was ready to wrestle. And like, was that basically what they were doing? Were they really just like, they weren't sure if they wanted to put her on Mania, or they couldn't find her a spot because they wanted to give all the other girls these spots on the show, and they were just holding off? Like, did they really do that for 3 months just to wait till the Raw After Mania? Like, did they have that planned, or did they just do that spur of the moment? But either way, it's sad. Like, they just have this girl strutting around. I mean, it's easy money for her. I don't know how much they pay her just to walk up and down the entrance ramp, but seems like, if you ask me, that they were really like kind of just holding off until they could figure out what to do with her. I don't know if they had it planned after Mania, but it was like, okay, you know, we have to do something with her, I guess, but I don't know. Also, it kind of just seems weird that they're just like jumping right into the Lacey thing. Like, yeah, I guess Ronda's already taking a break, and after WrestleMania, I don't fucking blame her. I would never come back if I was Ronda. I wouldn't touch this shit with a 10-foot pole if I were her after, you know, what they did to her, how they made her look, how they treated her. Then Ricochet and Aleister Black defeated Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Bobby Roode, like, attacks Ricochet from behind, but he only gives him, like, one shot. So it's like, I don't know if that was a heel turn or what that was supposed to be. Who cares? Honestly, like, the ship has sailed for Bobby Roode. They already made a statement a long time ago. Like, if Raw After Mania was as special as so many people make it out to be, don't you kind of think that they would have done something with Bobby Roode tonight? Like, maybe turn on Chad Gable or something like that? Or, I don't know. Maybe they're going to probably... I would imagine they're probably going to split him up in the Superstar shakeup, because I cannot see them continuing on with this team. Like, if they continue on with this, I gotta tell you, like, I would say that they're completely clueless, but I think that goes without saying. But Chad, not that I'm down on Chad Gable, but Bobby Roode, like I said, that guy, the only thing is his voice. The guy's talented, but Bobby Roode could be so much more. And I mean, I've been saying this now for how many, like, for the better part of a year. I mean, the guy couldn't get onto WrestleMania last year. He's a U.S. champion. This year, not even on the fucking show. Bobby Lashley and Dean Ambrose. Now, this was an interesting segment here. So, it seemed to me like there was a storyline going on here. It seemed to me like they actually finally decided to do something. And here's the thing about this. Like, they finally decided, let's do a storyline here. Dean Ambrose, for some reason, is wrestling Bobby Lashley. I don't know why. I didn't know that this was like a thing. Okay, the Shield were having problems with Lashley, but Dean Ambrose, the only person he was interacting with the last month was Drew McIntyre, who, by the way, was not on the show. And by the way, Roman Reigns was not on. Well, he was technically on the show. He was on after the show, if you want to count that. But they didn't have him on the actual broadcast edition of Raw, which is just amazing to me. Like, Roman Reigns, the guy who main evented WrestleMania last year, the cancer survivor, they're not putting him out there. And I think it was because they were too chicken shit to see what kind of reaction Roman Reigns was going to get. And that's pathetic. But they do this thing where, like, Lashley turns to Ambrose and says, I'm gonna take care of, your old lady while you're gone. And, like, that was a pretty good line. And then they shot to, like, Renee's facial expressions and everything. And, like, then they just proceed to have Lashley just smash Dean Ambrose through the table right in front of Renee Young. And then, all of a sudden they finally said the word husband and all that, and they didn't just dance around it and, use, like, euphemisms. And I'm just kind of staring right there. I'm watching this on my phone today, and I'm saying to myself, why did they choose to do something intriguing the last night that Ambrose was there? Like, they could have done this for how many months since Ambrose got back? He had returned from, July or August? I think it was August of last year. They had all that time to do something with Ambrose. And they decided to do it on the last night. On this very last night, when it doesn't even matter, like, what he does, because that's his last night. And that, from the people who weren't there at the live show and who are not going to watch the clip on YouTube or WWE.com and see the Shield, do their final goodbye, this is going to be the last image that a lot of people have of Dean Ambrose, is going through a fucking table. I mean, how would you feel if it's your last night in WWE and the last thing that they actually broadcast on the USA Network is you getting your ass beat? Especially after they gave you the WWE Championship. You had this run with this popular faction, and this is what they do. They just have you get destroyed in front of your own wife. But the thing is, it's like, it actually would have been good. The line by Lashley, and if that actually led into a Mania match, like, that actually would have been somewhat intriguing. But instead, Dean Ambrose, first of all, doesn't even get a Mania moment. They don't even have the class to have the guy go out one last time, a fan favorite, in front of a WrestleMania crowd. Because, fuck him. He's leaving the company. We're not going to give him one last WrestleMania match. And don't say it doesn't make any sense to do that, because there's been so many people who had their last, Mania match when they knew full well that the guy was going to be leaving the company ahead of time. You could think back, how about Brock Lesnar and Goldberg? They knew that those guys were going out, and they still gave them a prominent spot on the card. So, I don't understand that at all. Why did they decide to wait to do something interesting on this last night there? But whatever. I mean, it's came and gone. See you later, Ambrose. Thanks for the memories. And I kind of look back on it, and it's I think back on Dean Ambrose, and it wasn't really even that great of a career. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I liked him. I thought the guy had a lot of potential. But then again, it's he didn't even really have that amazing of a career, and it's a shame because he probably could have if it took place during any other era. And they also wasted a lot of time with him. His run as WWE Champion was just a bunch of fucking nonsense. I mean, it was a lot of wasted time, to say the least. But you look back on it, it was a very forgettable career. In a few years, after Dean Ambrose has been gone for about a year or two, if he stays gone for that long, most people are not even going to remember him. Honestly, they're really not. I think out of all the Shield members, he's probably the least popular one. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you that the worst member is Seth freaking Rollins, but we're not asking me. We're going by general consensus of who the fans like and seem to give the most attention to. And it would seem that really that, Dean Ambrose kind of looks like the least successful member of the Shield when you kind of look at it. But whatever, best of luck to him. And, I don't know, his wife is going to just still remain there, I guess, which is just kind of weird. Most of the time you see, the spouse kind of leave soon after. You don't really see them, hang around for all that long. But, whatever. I mean, I guess, didn't, AJ stay for a pretty lengthy amount of time? Didn't she stay until, 2015, if I'm remembering correctly? Even after CM Punk left. Mojo Rawley's still talking into a mirror. He missed WrestleMania. Was that true? Did he not compete in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? That's just crazy when you think about it. Honestly, this guy, he won the Battle Royal 2 years ago, and they're not even going to put him in this one. Okay. Well, Finn Balor, and Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn comes back. He's got his head shaved. He asked for an opponent to come out. Finn Balor is that one who responds, and he loses the match. So it's on your first night back, are you really going to have Sami Zayn lose here? He just came out. He's been gone for 10 months. And this is how they reintroduce him. Then he cuts an angry promo and okay, we all know that Sami Zayn is not going anywhere. And is it me, or does Sami Zayn look like he's in even worse shape than the first? Usually when these guys come back from injuries, Triple H, Dean Ambrose, who we just talked about, they always look amazing. This guy comes back and he looks like he's been doing literally nothing. These guys, they're powering through these workouts while they just recovered from, career-threatening surgeries. And it looks like, Sami Zayn's been taking it easy on his time off. He hasn't been struggling to get back at all. And it's you bring this guy back. First of all, you ruin his return. They show him, backstage briefly instead of, just him appearing, which would have been kind of nice. But, they tease it. I get it. That's that was kind of, I guess, supposed to be the way of, keeping you, stayed tuned to the channel. But if you're someone who stays tuned to a channel due to Sami Zayn being on the show, then I don't know what that really says about you. But Dana Brooke is backstage. She cuts a promo. And like, what the fuck was this? This had to be like, did you guys hear the pauses in there and the uncertainty? Like, Dana Brooke does not know what she's doing on the mic. And I don't know if, like, Ronda Rousey, like, gave her brain damage or something, but holy shit, like, what was up with Dana in this promo? First, she was talking like a robot. She was, like, barely seemed like she could remember what to say. She was speaking so slowly. I mean, they might as well have had a robot out there that looked like Dana Brooke, because it was like, oh, and congratulations, Becky. And then she goes, and this was like so awkwardly phrased too. She goes like, oh, I'm not at the front of the line, but I'm sure as hell not in the back of the line. Like, okay, like most of the time, like a wrestler would be aggressive and say they're pushing their way to the front of the line. She's just okay being somewhat in the middle. Like, what was this promo? Like, what was this even supposed to be? I'm sitting there like scratching my head like, Dana, what are you even saying here? Like, did anyone actually give her a mic? And I pray that this was not pre-taped. If this was a pre-tape, then whoever produced this, I mean, I don't know, take that person, instantly fire them, or reprimand them, or fine them, or do something to teach them a lesson. Because, I mean, like, there's no way that something like that should fucking air on TV. That right there is unacceptable. I mean, like, that to them was an acceptable promo. That was laughable. Like, you're telling me that they were scared about how fans would respond to Roman Reigns, so they didn't put him on the show, but they made sure to find some time for Dana Brooke, of all people. So, anyway, probably the best part of the show here, for me, Elias comes out, talks about how he can't be buried, and, the funny part about it is he was buried a long time ago, but at least they still find time for him on TV. But isn't it so funny? Like, he says, well, that's not going to happen next year. So we have to wait a whole year to see any type of, like any type of continuity or any type of evolution for Elias. Like, that he's going to spend a whole nother year in WWE just like flatlined, like not doing anything, just doing the same gig, coming out there, playing the guitar, making fun of the town he's in, and, not like involved in any real feuds. Like, does anyone realize like hasn't been in a real feud for months? They tried different things here and there, and like they always just go back to kind of just him in a skit where he gets interrupted. And this time he said, the next person who interrupts me is a dead man. And out comes The Undertaker. Why they did not have The Undertaker booked for last night's WrestleMania, I will never understand. It, as I said in my review, it was the first WrestleMania since the year 2000. It's been 19 years since The Undertaker missed a WrestleMania. Somehow, someway, they get it in their minds on the worst WrestleMania of all time, where they needed as much star power, as much pizzazz, as much as they could get to really just make the show even watchable or even the least bit memorable. And that is the same show that they choose not to have The Undertaker on. Well, I mean, I get it. The Undertaker probably didn't want to have a match. He did quietly retire last year. He's charged an arm and a leg to do a big interview, which, by the way, was a great shoot interview. He's charging a lot for appearances. He's going to make money in other ways. which is good for him. He's contributed enough to this business, and he came out here, and he just beats up Elias. He gives him the tombstone. He pins him. The crowd chants to 3. It wasn't an actual match, but whatever. I don't know really what to say here. Like, I guess it was a way of just giving the crowd something to get excited about, but it's like, it's totally random. Like, what does The Undertaker have to do with Elias other than it being a clever pun? The next guy who walks out here is a dead man. And he's a dead man. Like, haha, okay, like, I get it, I'm happy to see The Undertaker, but I would rather if they used The Undertaker in a way that would actually fit in to the show's storylines, or, lack thereof, I know, right, what storylines, but, it's basically random here. And once again, we have Elias getting the shit beat out of him. But they make sure that they have Elias not run away from him. He actually looks good there. He's standing toe-to-toe with The Undertaker. He's a big guy. He's not backing down from him. He's not like Lacey Evans running away. So, I don't really know what to tell you there. So we got The Undertaker. Just seeing The Undertaker was the best part of the show. He doesn't even really need to do anything for him to be the best part of the show. And the show's bar has been, lowered that far. Just simply seeing a legend like The Undertaker just automatically makes it the best thing on the show. Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins go to a no contest because, for some reason, the bar interfere. Okay, like, I don't get it. Like, why are the bar interfering here? I guess because they once feuded with the New Day, but this is a singles match and it's on Raw, and the commentators are, like, confused. The Superstar shakeup isn't until next week. Well, this is exactly the point why there shouldn't be a Superstar shakeup. Because as you're saying that, you're having SmackDown wrestlers invading on Raw with no reason, no rhyme or reason to it. And so then Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston beat the bar in the main event. And what did this really do? What's the lead into next week besides the Superstar shakeup? Like, was that it? We're going to have a Raw guy versus a SmackDown guy. And next week is the Superstar shakeup. What a brilliant lead in. What are the feuds? What was the fallout after WrestleMania? What was the repercussions? Brock Lesnar is not furious. Oh, I guess they didn't pay him to appear tonight, so we're not going to find that out. Paul Heyman can at least tell us. Daniel Bryan, I guess we have to wait. So Kofi Kingston can make his way on to Raw because he can't wait until SmackDown to tell us how he feels about his title win. Well, how does Daniel Bryan feel about his title loss? Well, I guess that we have to wait until SmackDown to hear about. You see what I'm saying? Like, nothing happened here. Like, Elias mentions about what happened to John Cena. And he does a rap and everything, and he's being entertaining and everything. But, out comes The Undertaker instead of John Cena. They get a little pun in there. It's something exciting for the live crowd to send the international crowd home happy. Just a really bizarre night. Not really a lot of debuts. I mean, most of the people were there anyway. Like, the Sami Zayn is just someone who returned. Lacey Evans had been strutting out there for months doing nothing. So, I mean, the only person who really debuted was Lars Sullivan. He attacked Kurt Angle. So, I mean, like, I don't even know. Does that mean that Kurt Angle isn't really retired? Is Lars and Kurt gonna have one last match? I don't know. This whole shit is a fucking mess. I mean, honestly, you literally watched this show and nothing happened on it. Nothing significant happened. This was the night after WrestleMania where they're supposed to be making statements. What's the future of this company? What storylines are going to happen? Who are the new stars? Who going forward after WrestleMania? What were the repercussions? What was the fallout? No repercussions, no fallout, no nothing. They talk about it a little bit, and you don't even have Roman Reigns on the show. After all this is said and done, they have the Shield do the fist bump, and that's the end of it. Nothing else happens after that. Okay, that was great, fantastic, wonderful. There's, like that's the follow-up you get. Like, oh my god, what a terrible, horrendous fucking way to end the night. I mean, like, wow. Like that is such a shitty ending right there. Just Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston versus The Bar to end a shitty show that no one's gonna remember. Yeah, Raw After Mania. It's so great. Once again, another year comes and goes, and I think this might have been the worst Raw After Mania ever. So that that kind of just fits in nice and neat with the the moniker of the worst WrestleMania ever, right? So it was followed up by one of the worst post Mania Raws. There you go, guys. There's your Raw review. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please hit a thumbs up if you did. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.